Governor Otti is not alone in this view. Many economists agree that subsidy removal and Naira unification were necessary long-term reforms, but he's framing calling Nigeria's current suffering a fallout of previous bad behavior is generating fierce pushback online, with Nigerians asking if characterizing poverty and hunger as the people's own fault is the best way to defend Tinubu's reform program. Good morning, Dr. Abati. Good morning, Ayo. Good morning, Rufai. That was, the visit by First Lady Senator Oluremi Tinubu right there also topped the trend. But, from the comments by Governor Otti, you could hear him, already aligning with the president. Earlier in my headline, I talked about Hope Uzodimma saying that, the 5 Southeast governors are aligning with the president. They are going to back the president for 2027. But I'll take a reaction before I come to you, Ayo. Mob wrote on X, I still don't understand the logic behind removing the fuel subsidy if Nigerians are yet to clearly see the benefits. The money that was previously used to subsidize fuel, where is it going now? What major improvements is it funding? Why are there still so many abandoned and uncompleted projects across the country while the federal government continues to seek new loans? These are genuine questions many Nigerians have. Greater transparency about how these funds are being used would help build public trust. Right now, it feels like there are still many unanswered questions about the country's finances. But, obviously you've heard some, governors say that they are receiving more funds, from the subsidy removal. But, Nigerians are not feeling that as well. Well, Governor Alex Otti was speaking while receiving the First Lady of Nigeria, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, during her Akwete fabric visit in Abia State, when he asked her to convey his appreciation to the president for his tough reforms. Well, during the event, the First Lady announced a 2 billion naira intervention to revitalize the Akwete textile industry and pledged to wear the fabric if her husband, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, wins the second term. Let's take a look.
I love Ashoka, but the Ashoka is too heavy for my head nowadays. Some are so stiff and they bruise me. And for the quality, the texture of Akwete, and I will tell you, I told Her Excellency, I said, if God brings my husband in the second time, I'll be wearing a woman wrapper. Yes, I'm going to be wearing that because very soft, breathable cotton.
All right, the First Lady's 2 billion naira intervention for the Akwete weaving industry is a genuinely welcome development. These women have preserved a centuries-old craft and deserve every naira of that support. But it is the pledge to wear Akwete for a second term that has Nigerians talking, with some finding it charming and culturally proud, and others pointing out that a promise tied to an election outcome is less a cultural statement and more a campaign commitment. And I'll read some posts on X. Chris wrote, Mommy, respectfully, nobody is wearing Akwete or Ankara again. The way things are right now, even kuli is becoming a luxury item. Let's just focus on bringing down the price of food first. Okafor wrote, at the same time, many Nigerians are more focused on issues such as the economy, security, jobs, and the costs of living. Cultural appreciation is welcome, but many citizens will judge any administration primarily by its performance and impact on their daily lives. Lastly, Lucky wrote, Akwete wrapper is 50 to 100K now. The same market women you met in Abia can't buy it. Don't use our culture for campaign slogans while the economy is strangling the same culture. Win with performance, not with fabric. What a poetic comment right there. I didn't even know they were that expensive. I've seen some that are less than 100,000 though. Oh, right. Exactly. Right.
Different grades.
Generally, Akwete is quite expensive.
Yeah, but I'm sure they can.
They are more expensive than Ankara for sure.
Yes, yes. Even, so with cotton, you can have different grades of cotton, and sometimes you mix cotton with some materials that are like cotton, breathable, but not exactly cotton. So you can find a way to reduce the cost. Now, I'm going to take her comment on the surface of things, and I want to say that was a good outing by the First Lady and an encouragement to the women
who weave this fabric and to the people, and by donating 2 billion naira, all this billion that she's sharing, please let her pay a visit to Lagos State as well, so that we can also enjoy the largesse from her
empowerment program. What was the program called? Our president.
It's Renewed Hope Initiative.
Renewed Hope.
Yes.
Farais women. I like it.
but I mean, in truth, she has been she's been very vocal about bringing back culture. I know she had a competition to have a national fabric, and you can imagine what an investment in that industry would be. Job creation, a restoration of culture, the fact that we've had in Ogun State, for instance, almost a re-engineering, a revitalization of the Adire market, and how they're trying to make it not just a Nigerian symbol, but an international, just in the way that we have, the Ghanaian fabrics. It's important for us to also have symbols like this across culture. Nigeria is multicultural, multi-diverse, and there's so many skills and talents that can be tapped into. So absolutely well done on that one. But when we come to the conversation around economic reforms, I know that everyone is trying to demonstrate how supportive they are of the president and who is the president's top supporter. And I, with very, due respect to Governor Alex Otti, who's done, great work in the state, I think it's important to also not take away from the reality on ground. And interestingly, we had a conversation with an APC chieftain around the economic reforms of the president. Now, I think the argument around economists is quite, and the position is quite, and the fact that these reforms in themselves were much needed. Over the years, even presidential candidates from 2023 had said that if given the opportunity, they would take away fuel subsidy. They would, some of them had talked about the unification of the floating of the naira. However, the manner in which it was done and the fact that the outcome on the impact of the livelihoods of Nigerians have demonstrated not enough rigorous thought in the process. So even IMF and institutions like that have praised this move have also criticized a lack of response to safety nets, social safety nets, things to cushion the effect on the lives of Nigerians. And that's why we find ourselves in this position, whereby an announcement, a policy direction was announced on Inauguration Day, and there was not enough plan to ensure that this reform that was much needed would be well received and the impact would not be difficult, especially on the most vulnerable of people.
Right.
Also, very quickly, one last point is that they talk about, yes, more money going to the subnationals. Yes. I am definitely for more eyes on the subnationals, right, on governors. They talk about, we want to thank the president for giving us more FAC allocation. What are they doing with the money? A lot of, for instance, this local, this accretive fabric we're talking about in Ogun State is driven by the governor. It's driven, so there are certain things that the governors can do that we keep looking at the presidency to do. So if they have more money coming from FAC allocation, what are they doing with it? Let's interrogate into subnationals a lot
Just
more.
a quick sentence from you, Dr. Abati, about Alex Otti backing President Tinubu, and of course, just quickly tie that in with the Southeast governors that are backing Tinubu. And it appears that he is backing the president at this point.
Well, of course, you know that there's a groundswell of support for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in the Southeast, not just by the governors, but also the ministers from the East, principally the Minister of Works, former Governor Dave Umahi, who is also supporting him. And it's not, and if you go to Anambra, you know also the governor of Anambra, who is not even a member of the APC, is starkly, in support of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And, all of them have said, well, they will deliver their various states for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, including the ones that moved from their former parties to now the main party. But you know that Governor Alex Otti has a background in finance issues. And so when he talks about things having to do with the economy, he knows what he's talking about, either in terms of, financial stability or the general reform environment. Only this morning, I was telling, Dr. Agbakai? Yeah, that is not just the Minister of Information that is saying, the reforms have brought a lot of stability to the environment. And he was saying, like many others, that the gain is not immediate. However, one major point that economists make is that when you do an assessment of Tinubu's reforms, you have to look at where we are coming from.
Yeah, okay.
Because practically, the economists and analysts argue that it practically inherited an economy that was on its knees.
Right.
And that, he needed to take measures, that will rescue the situation. Right. But the question, therefore, that we keep referring to is that governors are getting more money. There's more revenue coming. External reserve is going through the fattening room. Then what are the people gaining? For how much longer will the people wait for these democracy dividends to get to them? Finally, as for Mrs.
Oluremi Tinubu,
Mrs. Tinubu supporting African textiles. It's not even just about Ashoke or Akwete. African textiles, productivity within the economy. I think that's a good gesture. It's the same kind of thing, we should encourage. However, some people are saying, and I think we should note that the First Lady of Nigeria has already chosen his attire for Inauguration Day. If her husband is re-elected. So we look forward to that.
Well, you're already sure that he's going to be re-elected.
I said if our husband is re-elected, then we'll be looking forward to that attire on that Inauguration Day.
It would be nice to use the green, one.
She can choose whichever one she wants, because that will further motivate people in that particular
I like that.
industry.
All right, we look forward to that Inauguration Day if President Bola Ahmed Tinubu gets re-elected. Kudos to the First Lady of Nigeria on this win. Well, let's now take reactions to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's personal letter to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, commending his decisive leadership in the fight against terrorism. The letter, dated July 6, was only made public on Wednesday by presidential spokesman Bayo Onanuga. According to Onanuga, President Trump applauded Tinubu's resolve to tackle the issues plaguing Nigeria, especially the violence affecting Christian communities, adding that it is a true honor to stand with you in the fight against these terrorists and to make the Federal Republic of Nigeria stronger and more prosperous. Well, Rufai, this is a significant diplomatic signal, but this letter comes at the same time that Atiku Abubakar's lobbyists are submitting DOJ records on Tinubu to the Trump administration, making this letter a powerful counter-narrative ahead of UNGA in September. Nigerians are reacting and the responses are divided. And I'll take some reactions, Rufai, before I come to you. Shegun wrote, "What a twist. Some time ago, some people were jubilating about Trump's message to the Nigerian government about worsening insecurity. Today, he's praising the same government. I hope all of us will jubilate together." Another ex-user, Omotoyosi, wrote, "Trump writing a letter to President Tinubu over his decisive leadership and commitment to fighting terrorism actually helps improve the country's image. When Trump started with his threat of attacking Nigeria, many people were sitting and waiting for how it will unfold. But so far, I think the federal government has handled it well." Finally, Oji wrote, "The Nigerian presidency may have released this statement, but where is the corresponding confirmation from the White House when a foreign head of state supposedly sends a significant letter on security cooperation? It is reasonable to expect an official publication or statement from the White House as well. Until that happens, people are justified in asking for independent verification rather than relying solely on one government's press release. Transparency and cooperation strengthen credibility." And of course, Rufai, you can't fault some Nigerians because you know that Trump is very vocal on his Truth Social. He's always posting. We did see a lot of reactions like that. People saying, where is Trump's letter as well? But I mean, this is diplomatic relations. We don't know how these letters were sent, but I think it's good optics, especially from the story we took yesterday of Atiku Abubakar going to the DOJ.
Yeah, like I said before, I would have loved to comment about the economy.
Okay. So after Trump, you can just,
God bless you.
No, go ahead quickly, together.
Yeah. So, as regards this letter, you see, for me, it's the shock Nigeria has become that both opposition and President Tinubu are both employing lobbyists to go and do daddy oyoyo for Trump in America. Because all of this is just, the letter was released because obviously the Atiku camp, their lobbyists wrote a letter, and President Tinubu can want to show you that. See, Daddy has been writing me too. You think you can go and report me to Daddy? I've got what Daddy said about me here. That's just it. In all of this, we call ourselves a sovereign nation. Both nations that are going to do Daddy oyoyo for Trump, which is and when you look at the character we are doing it for President Trump, which is a very corrupt person. It's shocking where the world is. But anyway, he's the president of the free world, president of America as we speak today. But Oji, like I was saying before, there was a time this country held promise. where Nigeria leader Tafawa Balewa spoke at a joint session of the Congress. And it is very sad that Nigeria has gone to this point. But Oji, you know me, I like wawulens. Let me want to scatter the table. That letter was a reaction to a letter that the Nigerian authorities wrote to President Trump. Oji, I will give any amount in the world for them to release the letter that Nigeria first wrote for Trump to now elicit that response. I want to see what they wrote in that letter. Because he said, thank you for your very kind words. I want to see the kind of platitudes and encomiums they showered on Daddy Trump for him to respond to that. That's just the wawulens I want to make. Secondly, Oji, we all campaign for subsidy removal. I campaign for subsidy removal. Yes, and I say it boldly. Because we thought that it was going to be able to cure the corruption in the system, where the money will now be used for the benefit of the people. But Oji, I thought too much. I expected too much from this government. I was wrong. In fact, I said boldly my words that any president that removes subsidy will be respected. Because I thought once he removes subsidy, he will unlock a lot of wealth for the people. Little did I know that I was wrong. Oji, President Tinubu removed subsidy 1 year after subsidy was still being paid. If we didn't see NNPC's books, we wouldn't know about expenses, energy expenses cost. If we didn't see NNPC's books, we didn't know about 17.5 trillion that Dele Oye is now talking about. Oji, the monies that we ought to use to save for the people, is that not what the deputy speaker is now defending that they're giving to church yesterday that we're berating him? Oji, do you know that statutorily by the law, National Orientation Agency is supposed to do all that level of publicity? Do you know National Orientation Agency's budget is 450 million? National Orientation have not collected 1 naira out of their budget. And the speaker is, a deputy speaker is defending money being given to churches to do the work of National Orientation Agency. He is collecting 780 million. National Orientation budget is 450 million. Look at the shenanigan in the budget cycle. After this subsidy was removed, President Tinubu was telling us to tighten our belt. What did he do? Bara, he went to buy plane. $150 million. Till today, we don't know where that money came out from. National Assembly said the money didn't go through them. How will the National Assembly talk when they're shocking their mouth with Jeep, Toyota Jeep? Didn't they give them their own part of the money? So what are we saying? So how has it benefited the people? So as long as you, till today, the forensic audit and the corruption that was found out, even with the refineries, we've not gotten that money back. Over $3 billion was spent on refinery, we've not gotten the money back. The in-play of the NNPC, as regards monies allocated to subsidy, we've not gotten it back. The budget cycle has been fraught with a lot of corruption, fraud, irregularity, scandal, and all sorts of things happening. So the arguments we made that, oh, if you save this money, we'll invest in this and everything, it has shown that. So isn't it best to keep the buffers for the people and they know they are feeling it? Why did we remove subsidy? Why did we remove subsidy in the hands of citizens before we put it in the NNPC? Because we thought it would be more accountable. After the Ayo Mairo-Ese committee, Dr. Abati, you remember, under your government, Ayo Mairo-Ese, at first, this was how subsidy used to. People used to go and claim subsidy. They corrupted the system. Then we said we'll give it to NNPC. Till today, NNPC is not accountable. So the question we should ask is, whether don't just give the people back the succor of the rather than having this subsidy that we've removed, that the first thing the president went to buy, he bought a plane, lavish money for National Assembly, padding budget and doing all sorts, taking money away. We can blame the governors all we want and say, oh, they are getting more money, they are not doing. We hold them accountable. They should be accountable. But what about the federal revenue that is so-called coming in? We said we've removed subsidy, we've removed an encumbrance of billions or trillions from our money. And today, it's only 30% of 2025 budget we can service. Mungunu is crying and all of that.
All right.
Those are the arguments.
All right. Thank you for your submission, Rufai.